Pure Pickers, to another edition of Pure Picks. We're here to break down Burns versus Brady this upcoming fight night on Saturday. As always, let's recap what happened last week, or at this point 2 weeks ago, to see how we did. This one was for UFC Fight Night Canier versus Barajo. Obviously, you guys saw here that we got 0.83 units up for the night. I'm not going to go over all of the picks, but just wanted to point out that we were on the loader side at the end, and I'm glad that we put over a unit on him, got back over 2.5 units overall by including with a parlay as well. So really glad we were on that. Biggest L of the day for us was Shabazian. He is added on the list of do not play, do not bet. This guy's horrible as a favorite, so I highly recommend putting him on the list and just never trusting him as favorite again. If he pulled through, we would have looked at a really big night. But, 0.83, 15% ROA, not bad overall. Overall, we're still 11% ROI, 31 units up. Straight picks have been going great, 22%. Parlays, 13%. So, yeah, still a decent night for pure pickers, and we're going to try to continue that going forward. For this week, I wanted to just do a couple plays that I like. I looked over the card, and most of the fights for me at least are going to be on pass. I do have the raw notes for the pure pickers that are pro members, so I released those raw notes today on Discord, and you guys take a look at that. But yeah, I would just say that for most of the fights on this card, I think I would just pass just because of variety of reasons. But there are two plays in particular that I would like to share with you, everyone. I think that is pretty good value for both of these plays. Let's look at the first one. First one that I wanted to go over, it is the fight between Steve Garcia and Kyle Nelson. As we look for the odds for that one, we see that Steve Garcia is now a minus 182. He opened up in a minus 200. For me, the pick here and the value is actually going to be on Kyle Nelson. So he's going to be my first underdog for the night that I wanted to share with you guys. The pick here will be Nelson, and really the reason why is I think the odds are just way too wide in a fight like this for a guy like Steve Garcia. I consider this more of a pick'em fight. Nelson, I believe he's just a consistently underrated fighter. He's fighting a guy who's coming off of a hot streak in Steve Garcia. And I feel like Steve Garcia is consistently, kind of underrated or overrated in a way. So in this fight, I mean, I just see that Kyle Nelson's going to be able to really keep a high guard. And, I don't know if he's going to stay entirely safe, but he has enough firepower from his own arsenal of counters to drop a guy like Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia, for example, he got dropped by Marotte. That was his only KO loss of his career. And that was obviously more of a straight shot. I mean, Kyle Nelson has more of like a looping striking, but I still think he can get through to a guy like Steve Garcia because Garcia really likes to get into those brawls. And I think that fighting that style, I mean, we even saw with the last fight. I mean, it was very entertaining, but fighting that style will catch up to you eventually. And I feel like Kyle Nelson is the kind of guy that can really catch him with that counter. Also, another kind of known fact that I've seen at least is that for me, Kyle Nelson, his caliber of competition has been a little bit more tough than Steve Garcia's. If you look at the type of fighters that Steve Garcia has been fighting, I mean, it hasn't been the best caliber of competition, I would say. Just looking back at some of his fights, I mean, Su Wong Choi, I think that guy is overrated. Mel Costa, I think that was just a bad matchup. Mel Costa was not physically able to stand up to a guy like Steve Garcia. Elon Shah, I mean, that was also a kind of 50-50 fight because Steve Garcia actually got dropped in round one, I believe, and he came back to drop Elon Shah there. Chase Hooper, obviously, I mean, that was a big mismatch in the featherweight division for Chase. got knocked out by Marotte. Charlie's Quinteros, that guy's can. He lost to Luis Pena. So, I mean, his caliber of competition, if you just look at it, hasn't really been that great. If you look at Kyle Nelson's competition, Bill Algeo, that guy's like legit. Fernando Padilla is also legit. Blake Builder, I think, is a little overrated. I did get a draw with Duho Choi, who's pretty good. And he did have a few losses before that. I mean, he's been in the UFC for a while. And, I think that he has probably learned from those losses, in my opinion. And I think he's a much better fighter today than he was like 6 years ago. So I like his caliber of competition that he's fought so far, more than Steve Garcia. And yeah, I mean, I just like him at the dog odds here. I feel like, both men have been KO'd before, and Garcia just really likes to brawl in that way. So I think it's going to catch up to a guy like, Kyle Nelson. Both fighters also have good takedown defense. So I think this fight's going to remain standing. And I'm expecting a pretty early finish. I think round 1 or 2, either of these men could get knocked out. And I like the plus odds on Kyle Nelson. So give me Kyle Nelson via KO in this matchup, plus 157. I really like that. I could also see a decision, so I would hold off on playing any props that you see for Kyle Nelson because I could see him KOing this guy. I could also see him coming in and perhaps getting a decision win over Steve Garcia as well. So I like Kyle Nelson this week. The next fight that I wanted to go over, this one is a more, I think, dangerous dog play. It's going to be Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. Obviously, if you guys look at the odds, Sean Brady's minus 175. Opened up at a pick'em. So most of the action has been gone on Sean Brady. I got to go with another dog here. I'm going with Gilbert Burns. I'm going with Dorino. I know this guy's 38, but he has some really big concerns on his chin and durability. I just don't think that Sean Brady is the guy that tests that out. I mean, if you look at Sean Brady, he's probably the worst striker that Burns has faced in a while. I think that Burns should have the edge on the feet here, and I don't think that's a question. The grappling department is where it's going to get tricky because I think whoever dominates in that area will probably win the fight. I see Burns remaining safe. I mean, he's never been subbed before. He's a really respected jiu-jitsu player. I mean, Sean Brady's also. Both these guys are pretty high level in jiu-jitsu, but I just see that the biggest fear for me in this fight is Brady just laying preying on Burns because Brady does have some good control. He does have good takedowns. Burn has like a 50% takedown defense, so he can get taken down, and he might get rolled out for the decision lay and pray, right? So that's the biggest concern I have. But we also have to take into account this is going to be Sean Brady's first 5-round fight. Burns has been in multiple 5-round fights at this point. I feel like he has the edge in cardio, even though he's 38. I think that Burns will probably have the edge in cardio here because of Sean Brady. If you look at some of his other fights, especially that fight with Michael Chiesa, I mean, he won the first 2 rounds pretty dominantly. The third round, he was getting pieced up by Michael Chiesa. He was fading in that fight too. You guys saw what happened against Bilal Muhammad to Sean Brady. I mean, he faded really hard early on. Could have been because of the jet lag, but I mean, Burns survived 5 rounds with Bilal Muhammad, right? And Brady got knocked out by Bilal Muhammad. So that's a really interesting dynamic there. I think that Burns obviously is 38. He's out of his prime. He's not going to be as good, but I think this guy's going to be juiced enough. This guy definitely juices. And I feel like he has enough juice in his back arsenal to kind of counter a guy like Brady. Brady's going to be in his prime. I just don't think that he's on Burns' level in terms of MMA. And the biggest concern that I do have about Burns is that he does have some chin and durability issues. Once again, I think that I'm not too concerned because Brady, I don't think he's going to test that. So I like Burns here as the dog, decision or KO, because Brady has pretty bad striking defense. So give me Burns as a dog plus 150. And yeah, I like both these guys as a dog. So get it in now because I think that the lines are probably going to teeter the other direction. I mean, maybe we'll see some more action on the favorites as the week goes on, but I feel pretty good about both these guys as a dog. And those are going to be my 2 underdog locks of the week for a dog. And we've been running pretty hot on straight picks, dogs especially. So I'm excited to see how this will play out this upcoming week. That about does it for the breakdown. Once again, raw notes are available to members online on Discord right now. So if you want to get in that, please join the Discord, sign up, and get all the benefits of that. We'll be releasing picks. We already have one pick, I believe, in from Alex, and he put in a pick early this week and got some pretty good line value on that one. So yeah, other than that, best of luck this week, guys. I'm out.